Hello and welcome to another one of my short video reviews. Today we're looking at the Sony 43XD8305 TV. It's an Android based interface, as you can see, and at the top here we have the recommendations bar, something which Sony think you're going to be interested in based on your viewing habits. Secondly, we have the featured apps section, major catch-up services, shortcuts to YouView, BBC News, Sport, Sky News and VLC, which I downloaded. Not great, I have to say. Then we have the apps section. Now this section you can actually change the order of. So we've got video, album, photo showing Kodi and SPMC, which I downloaded. And we'll go back, and then we have the input section, digital streaming channels, 4 full-size HDMIs, AV1 on a SCART and a composite. You also get component, but you have to buy a conversion cable to fit into the 3.5mm socket on the back of the telly. And there are the settings for Google TV at the bottom. So let's have a look here. Let's go back up to the top. So let's just have a look at Amazon Video, because this is slightly interesting as this TV supports HDR. I was interested in looking at the Grand Tour because I knew it was available in HDR. So I went into the Grand Tour. So let's go and have a look at this. And I spent some time on chat and on the phone with Amazon trying to find out why I wasn't getting 4K HDR. Well, it turns out the reason for this is because Amazon use a completely different stream for their 4K HDR stuff. Unlike Netflix, they don't use any stream adaptive system. I'd like to be able to show you some of the Grand Tour stuff, but unfortunately for copyright reasons I can't. So instead, let's have a look at some demo files. One thing I was disappointed with was the internal video app playback. So I connected my Shield and was surprised to find really that a Shield running Kodi worked with HDR quite well. I loaded up the LG chess demo to have a look. Okay, so this is quite an impressive picture. This TV doesn't do black level that well because it's an IPS panel, but it does whites quite well, and this picture actually looks quite impressive. And look, it is HDR. I can go in and change the HDR settings. You can adjust the black level. You can get this to go too low. That's obviously not very impactful in terms of picture. The blacks are improving a bit, but it does crush the detail a bit. But let's push the black level back up. Okay, and now if you go too high, you'll end up clipping the whites. That's far too high up there, so we need to bring that back down in a second. But I'm just showing you the impact the black level has. So let's bring it back down without clipping the whites. Okay, about there. Okay, that's good. Now brightness, if we bring that all the way down, that's adjusting the backlight. Now the contrast is interesting because you can trade off white level detail and in fact how well it works for HDR. So I would say about 80 is about normal, giving you a fairly good impact for HDR, but also retaining a lot of detail in the highlights. So here's where we adjust the 2-point and the 10-point white balance. This TV calibrates quite well in terms of grayscale. As usual though, Sony have no colour management system, so the only adjustments you can make are the very coarse colour and tint controls. Let's have a look at HDR on the Sony test files. So let's check that it's showing HDR. Yep, okay, that's fine. And we can go in and adjust brightness, contrast, etc. But let's just turn the HDR on and off and show you the difference. Very flat looking, lacking colour with HDR off, and maybe a little bit excessive in terms of contrast and colour with it on, but again, we can tweak that later. As for remote controls, it comes with a standard Sony remote control that they ship with all their 2016 models. It's a bit disappointing. It has membrane switches for all the buttons. It does mean that it's easy to clean, but it's quite directional, although it does have voice search built in. Overall, I quite like this television. Okay, it doesn't have the best in terms of black level, but for me it wasn't that important because I'm using it primarily as a PC monitor. Thanks for watching, and please leave any comments below and I'll try and respond. Until next time, goodbye.